charismatic, you're sweet as candy,
Thanks.
aren't you? So in a sense, it's like a very recognisable sort of path. What's weird, I suppose, is the amount of control you have over your content. So tell me how you got into creating the stuff you create.
That's the thing I think I might be most addicted to about what I do. Being a creator, essentially the control is in my hands. And it was fascinating to come to Hollywood, and I came to Hollywood wanting to do what you did. I wanted to hop industries. I wanted to be an actor. I don't know what your original goal was, and I'd love to know. But when I came to Hollywood, it was I wanted to be a big actor. And then you get on set, you have absolutely no control. It's hurry up and wait, and you have the creativity is no longer from here. And with the stuff that I do, I became addicted to just producing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. Like that is an undeniable thing that I was attracted to with social media, and I think that's why I stuck with it for so long, and I'm still on it.
So you can just have an idea, and then you can realise it. Do you have like what we would recognise as conventional production? Do you work with writers or producers? Do you brainstorm? I think we'll do something in them Suicide Woods or whatever. Oh no, is that a bad thing to mention? I know that was a controversy.
Well,
is it an unmentionable?
No. I actually wanted to dive into that with you, but just the way you said it, I mean, you know, you're funny. You're a comedian. Like, yeah, that was just the way you said it was. Was it good? It was pretty funny.
Yeah, that's good. So, with the generation of content, something like that, do you just how do you come to that idea? Because I love the pranks that he was. Do you know the thing I wanted to mention to you was like Jackass, like when Jackass, all like them lads, Johnny, Vauxhall, and all them. When they all came to Knoxville, when they all come to England, like I was working for MTV, I was still a crack and heroin addict then, but I was like working on MTV, so I did like loads of promo for their show.
Sure, okay.
And I thought, even though what they're doing is all skate culture and hurting themselves and beating up on themselves, I thought there's something real punk and prankster about what they're doing. It's disruptor.
Yeah.
It's like very disruptive, and I feel like possibly you're interested in that kind of thing, creating sort of in recent French artistic history, it's called situationism, creating unusual situations that in themselves show up the absurdity of the everyday.
Absolutely. It's funny, the Jackass guys were quite literally my inspiration as an 8-year-old to start making content. Like my first ever YouTube video was called like Logan Does Stunts. It was me like jumping off of like refrigerators, like slapping my brother in the face with like a ham, inspired by the Jackass guys. And it's ironically enough, like they've in a way bred a jackass. Like you know, I like to consider myself an evolved jackass. But
what are the points of evolution? How do you think it's moved on? Other than the medium, obviously.
Yeah.
How you're creating and controlling the content. Skate culture, they would have, I guess, been doing a version of that always, but just on VHS is passed around.
I think honestly, just it's a maturity thing. I've always been a late bloomer. I've always been late to mature in my content. I mean, when you go back 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of it is like cringe. It's high energy, it's fun, but it's just like this cringe, weird version of myself that when I look back at, and I'm sure you feel like this too when you look back at your old stuff. I don't.
Cool, really cool.
Yeah, I know you've always been cool. Must be fucking nice, bro.
I regret things I've done this morning.
You've always been great. Not me. I wasn't born great. I wasn't the kid who was born with an innate talent or with a golden spoon in his mouth. Like I had to learn and forge my way to become this likable guy, and years and experience. And again, I'm only 24, so the 26-year-old Logan watching this interview will probably not recognize this kid. But
I was so innocent back then.
Maybe, I'm serious though. My evolution over even a year, 2 years, 5 years is absolutely mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, it must be changing quite radically because, again, even relating to the content, you can create all this content, it can evolve and it can change quite quickly. How did you get from the early prank Jackass-inspired slapping your brother with, I think what you said was a ham, a joint of pork-based meat?
Yeah.
How did you? What were your next steps, and when did you notice that you were starting to have an impact?
Way too late, to be honest with you. Way too late. I was not focused on the impact of my content so much as just producing the next piece of crazy content I could. I legitimately didn't did not think about the impact, also didn't really care. I think that was part of the Tokyo problem and the Japan problem.
Right, that's what we call it. Not suicide woods. Tokyo.
No, but that's what it is. I mean, we can call it whatever. That's what it is.
What happened there?
That was significant in my life for many reasons, but mainly because it took that for me to realize that what I was doing was so fucking wrong, in that social media was creating a person that it was just not me. My only motivator was views. I wanted views, because views equated to money, views equated to subscribers, which equated to success, and I started to skew the person that was Logan Paul, like that kid that was on Vine. Logan was now becoming this influencer who all he cared about was making the most noise that he could, and so the bigger, the louder, the faster, the better, and there was no forethought or foresight that went into the content we were creating.
Yeah, it can be very seductive, and I still have to be quite observant of the impact of fame and money. These are sort of powerful corruptors for people that have worked in entertainment ever since there's been an entertainment industry, to get other people's approval, to see your success escalating, and also in my own experience to feel that there's a kind of disjunct between that external phenomena and how I feel inside. I think any of us that lose our inner connection in favour of something that's happening externally, even if that's something blunt and basic like drug addiction, or something more abstract like fame and success, can start to, what you said, is lose connection with your essence a little bit.
Absolutely.
Your little child, pure self, as it were.
Absolutely. Well, it's like, for me specifically, and I would caution anyone listening to this or watching this, depending on what medium you're on, to
smelling it.
If you're smelling this podcast or tasting it, I got in a cycle where my actions every day were reinforced by views. I knew that the crazier, more inappropriate things I did would get views, and so in my mind this was a good thing, and I started chasing that, and I got sucked into the cycle. Like, what person? Everything I did was supported by an audience, and in my mind that meant success. When in reality, that's not the case.
Well, also though, you can take recourse to much more traditional media. If you think of like television or film or music, we know that sort of content that has a negative impact, or content that's morally dubious can be
morally dubious.
If, like, according to your paradigm, it equates to success. That's work was done collaboratively with executives that worked there for 20 years, not kids making it up on the hop, like with only their instincts about what's right and wrong. Is it accurate to say that you had a shift in the way you created in your life? Yeah, because it was pretty evident to me, like, from an outsider. Like, I know now you're doing a lot more conscious work and more, I don't know if like, what's the way to put it, like conscious comedy? Something like that. You coined that, I'll take it. Yeah, conscious comedy. Well done, you still got it. Now, like, what I reckon is, like, for me it was sort of comparable to you. Like, I was older than you by the time I even got like recognition of doing like stand-up comedy and stuff. Then got a bit of recognition in the UK. Got a TV show. It was around 30 then, but then quite quickly got offered movie parts over here. And same as what you were saying, building up to your Japan situation, I started to value that more, because I felt a bit, to be honest, I felt untethered from any other reality. Plus, I've already been a crack addict and a heroin addict and have mental health issues my whole life. So when something so phenomenal and exciting and glistening is happening out there, and there's all the approval and adulation, of course that becomes a primary reality. It's fuck the inside.
Well, nothing else matters. Yeah, that's the life you give up.
But for me, like, my journey, I suppose, like, I can look at it now with a degree of fortune. It's like of gratitude rather. Is like excuse me. One film in particular that I've done, that I was a lead in. Like, in Hollywood, things is defined by numbers. So I did a movie called Arthur, and that movie Arthur had to do a certain amount of money, or it's not a success. It didn't do that certain amount of money, so it wasn't a success. So then after that, I still made films, but it wasn't the continuing upward trajectory of like, and now more stars, and now more promiscuity. You know, it was just a kind of, oh right, there's a ceiling. You know.
Yeah.
And then I was able to reflect. Plus, I'd been sort of hoovered somewhat into world of celebrity because I was married to Katy Perry, who's like sort of obviously a massive pop star. So I was really present in that whole world. You know, and it's difficult to recognise normal domestic stuff. Like, I'm just a person that's going to die. I love this person, the two people that are together, when all that stuff's going on. But as that became more and more challenging and sort of basically painful, to be honest, like, you know, in recovery we say like pain is the touchstone of learning. It's sort of telling you, you know, no, go this way, don't go that way. You know, because of that, that's when I started like directly after that sort of stuff like feel like it was falling apart. I got involved in politics in the UK, commentating, doing YouTube videos actually on politics, and it got picked up and it had a real influence. And before I knew it, I was interviewing the guy that was running for Prime Minister in the general election a few years back. But even that went crazy because my ego got involved in that again. Every time I start doing things because I want people to like me, it bombs out. So from like it's almost like I've had it smashed out of me by the experience.
So have you pulled back then? Like how are you managing that?
Well, now what I'm trying to do is stay connected to like. Luckily now I'm married. I've got 2 children, and so like I've got this very real domestic life where no one gives a shit, like to an almost I think insulting degree about anything that I'm doing outside. Like you know, like no one even they probably won't even ask how did it go with Logan Paul. I'll go. They won't care. Some of them are too little to care, and my wife was in her 30s.
Yeah.
So. You know, so that's very grounding. The other thing is because of the program I worked around drugs, I've had realization after realization about attachment to external things. Even though I'll always be attracted, in my case as a heterosexual, to females, I recognise there's nothing for me to gain by pursuing them, and a lot for me to lose. You know, it means I objectify women. If I start getting into that mindset, I could hurt my wife and ruin my family.
Yeah.
Same with